Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly clear, low near 64. Tuesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late, increasing clouds, a high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, another slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, blend of clouds and sunshine with a high around 86. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 68.
Hey, Chicago. Hal Sparks is coming back to Chicago for a live show on Saturday, July 12th. He'll be back at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Guess what? Johnny Million would join him, but most of all, he wants to talk with you about everything going on right now. Tickets are on sale at heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820. Get yours now before they're gone. This remote broadcast is made possible by Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli, and Bakery.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, independents, all you folks in the middle right want to move over to the left. Welcome to the July 7th, 2025 edition of Choose Views here. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. So reach out to us. Also, Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and email me, of course, at richard at WCPT820.com. Catch me on Substack. I'm going to have a lot to put out this week, so hopefully we'll get to it. And certainly catch all of our shows, as usual, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get the Choose Views short versions and long versions, i.e. the featured interviews and such. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. And make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, which is our digital platform. On today's show, in the 7 o'clock hour, will be our good friend Sarah Jones, co-founder and Politicus USA, and she and I are going to chat it up. And then political strategist Mike Nellis will be with us again at in the 7:30 hour today. So we look forward to chatting with both of them about all that's happening in our world today. But right now, check this out, progressives.
So let's get this straight, guys. For months, meteorologists, experts, and media outlets warned that Donald Trump's budget cuts to the National Weather Service were reckless, and that slashing funding and gutting staff would directly hurt their ability to predict severe storms, that it would put lives in danger. And now, right on cue, a deadly flood hits Texas, and state officials are turning around and blaming the Weather Service for inaccurate forecast. I mean, are you kidding me? This is what happens when you haul out public safety in the name of politics and cruelty. The NWS isn't some luxury. It's not a partisan tool. It's the reason families get warnings in time. It's the reason people evacuate. It's the reason kids make it home from school before the storm hits. But Donald Trump's second term has made it crystal clear. If a program protects people and saves lives but doesn't align with his agenda or help his image, he'll gut it, no matter who it hurts. And then, when disaster strikes, just like the experts said it would, they blame the very people that they've undercut. It's scapegoating at its most cowardly. This flood was tragic, but it wasn't just a freak accident of nature, guys. It was a failure of leadership, a predictable consequence of dismantling the very systems designed to keep us safe. If you're more concerned with scoring political points than funding the people who literally track deadly storms for a living, then you are the danger to public safety.
And that is, I can't say it any better. But we're going to start there today because, now the officials in Texas are trying to blame the NWS for this tragedy. Why is it that we keep having tragedies in Texas? Whether it be they can't keep their grid together so that folks are protected from the ice storms and cold weather that blows through, and power goes out and people are, put in harm's way because of the weather, not having heat in a place that's not used to that? Why is it that in the summertime, when we have extreme heat in different parts of the country, above their normal hotness, i.e. Texas, why is it that they can't keep their air conditioning on, keep people cool? And then we have storms, again, in a part of the country that is just geographically where it is, not blaming Texas or people in Texas, but doggone it. I mean, when are the people's lives? I mean, it broke my heart to see those videos of families trying to get their kids. They're still, I don't know the exact number now, but upwards of 40, I believe 40 children that are missing from a Christian day camp. I mean, what the heck? It's frustrating because this is the kind of stuff we can't, the weather we can't, I don't want to say we can't fix the weather. My wording is, I want to say this the right way. We can't make the weather go away. Maybe I'll put it that way. But we sure as heck, when we know that things are coming, have to keep in place the things that are going to allow us to be better prepared and safer. And we've got these yahoos in the federal government and those in Texas that don't know what the heck they are doing on a whole bunch of fronts. But when it comes to something like this, see, this kind of harm and danger is preventable because the people who should and say that they are the ones that are in control and they know what they're doing, if they do, they should be, for no other reason, they should be fired for that lie because they either don't know what the hell they're doing, which is the case, or they don't want to do the thing that needs to be done, which is probably, I get more problems with that. I mean, how do you not look at history and know that weather patterns in certain parts of the country are going to do their thing? Mother Nature's going to do her thing. You aren't going to stop Mother Nature. We have, and particularly now that we've allowed so much harm to take place and happen to our environment and to our climate at large. And all the experts for years now, going on decades, have said these types of things were coming. And yet we have people in our country that are so arrogant, and at the same time so privileged and out of touch. And then I'm going to start to say negligent, to not keep in place. And it's not just the situation here. Let's look at the Paris Accords. Let's look at anything where preventative measures have been in place. Look at what happened. I mean, when I look at my notes and I think about this, the bombing of Iran, preventable. Why? How? Rather, by keeping in the agreement that President Obama had put in place. But no, they got to change it to then cause further problems and harm. The situation in Texas, it's not the first time. So ranting on about this is, I'll try to stop myself. But the National Weather Service is not to blame, Greg Abbott and any of your minion in Texas. They're not to blame. The blame is on you, your administration, your faultiness, your negligence for years now. Because this ain't the first time there was an opportunity to protect your people from natural disasters where you drop the ball. Ted Cruz goes to the Caribbean. Donald Trump is saying, let's cut some of these programs. Why? Or let's pull back. Let's gut them down to the studs. Hollow them out, as the phrase goes. Why? What sense does it make? You can't saving money over saving lives is insane. You have to save lives first. You have to have preventative measures in place to take care of lives first. And so I know that we are going to talk about the big, bad, ugly, stupid, stinky bill. But I wanted it to be known that this is it's a nonpartisan thing for me, but partisans are making decisions that are hurting people. And I struggled if I was going to say it that way. This is a nonpartisan issue. We lost Americans in this terrible situation with this weather in Texas. And it's not the first time during the Trump administration that they've not done what they could have done or should have done. Now they're going to rush in now and pretend like they're saving the day. And Kristi Noem, God Lord, please just go bury yourself in a tunnel somewhere. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing you show up with your baseball cap on, hair pulled back, and some vest to show that you're some, savior of the day. I am sick and tired of seeing her show up. But that being said, these are Americans that died. And to that end, there are GOP members of Congress, the state legislature in Texas, and other parts of the South and Southeast that are voting to harm people. They're voting legislation in or canceling things that have been in place that's harming people. And when are the voters going to wake up in these areas? I mean, Texas, I have family in Texas, and thank God they weren't impacted directly by this. But voters in certain areas have got to wake the hell up. You can't keep voting these people back into office that are causing harm, whether it be directly or indirectly. All right, guys, it's Monday. We'll talk about 4th of July and hope everyone had a good weekend this weekend. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. That is the Credo mobile phone and text line. We want to hear from you this morning. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Welcome back to Choose Views. Thanks for being with us this morning. Let's hit you with a couple of Choose Views news items, and then we'll talk about the 4th of July weekend. Unfortunately, as we just said, dozens dead in Texas floods. At least 43 people, including 15 children, are dead in Kerr County, Texas. 8 more people died in nearby counties, according to the latest reports yesterday, after fast-moving waters along the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes. Rescuers continued to search yesterday as more people remained unaccounted for, including 27 children from the nearby Camp Mystic, according to local officials. Flash flood warnings and watches remain in effect yet through yesterday and until early this morning. Trump did sign the spending bill into law, sweeping spending bill at the White House ceremony on Friday, one day after it passed the House of Representatives 218 to 214. The bill touches everything from car loan interest to gambling winnings to electricity bills. Members of both parties had raised concerns about the cost of the bill, now up to $3.4 trillion, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Proposed cuts will come with Medicaid, SNAP, and other safety net programs for Americans. Continuing with the spending bill, some sectors are going to be, from what I'm reading and reporting, that they're going to see some benefit while revoking some of the industry benefits to others. The fossil fuel industry is a big winner, as the legislation will phase out federal support for green energy transition. So it's not really a benefit for the country, it's a benefit for a sector of. If y'all remember, Trump said, if you guys give me $1 billion for my election, then I'll make sure that you have what you need as oil or fossil fuel companies. And he delivered on that, but to the harm of many Americans. Chip makers stand to benefit as tax credits for breaking ground on new U.S. plants will jump from 10% to 35%. Automakers already struggling, though, will sell electric vehicles that sell electric vehicles in the United States. Meanwhile, are poised to face more hardship as the law will end subsidies for buying and leasing EVs. So there is a problem there for that industry. Let's talk about teen summer jobs. That is cooling off a little bit. From fast food to landscape to local supermarkets, landing a summer job has been a rite of passage for American teens for decades. But the youngest members of Gen Z are finding current opportunities scarce, according to the New York Times. Teen unemployment rose to 13.4% in May, up a full point from a year ago. Outplacement firm Challenger Christmas & Gray executive Andy Challenger expects there will be only 1 million new summer jobs for teens, which is a 15-year low. Last but not least, the White House is preparing the tariff rates. What does that mean? Days before this July 9th deadline to settle international trade arrangements, U.S. partners are hustling to cement trade deals and secure time extensions before Donald Trump notifies 12 unspecified countries of new tariff spikes that will take place. Countries including Japan, South Korea, and India negotiated through the holiday weekend to avoid higher levies, which could climb as high as 50% starting August 1st. The Financial Times reports, meanwhile, that the U.S. has threatened the EU with 17% tariffs on agricultural exports amid a dispute with Brussels. So there you go. Trump's America, y'all. No, this is our America. Got to say it that way. This is our America. This is our country. And we have to continue to fight for it. You're going to hear that come out of my mouth a lot because that's what I believe in. We have to keep fighting. All right, guys. Thanks, Devin. The storms that took place in Texas and the flooding that took place behind that, it's tragic. And I won't harp on this too much longer, but I just feel like, at some point, folks have got to say we've got to stop voting for the same folks that are putting us in the same situations of harm. And it's heartbreaking to see these things happen. And I know that, many people have different thoughts about it. And I think that it's unfortunate that we can't, get people who are going to do things that are going to be better. And I said to talk about 4th of July. We, here in Chicago had this terrible tragedy with shootings, and it's heartbreaking. But one of the things that I'm not going to do when it comes to that is politicize it to the extent to say, because I said this in talking with some folks about it over the weekend. Mayor Johnson didn't pull those triggers. Tony Preckwinkle didn't, Governor Pritzker didn't, Lieutenant Governor Stratton didn't, and any of our elected officials did not pull those triggers. Those were idiots, reckless, horrible people that did that. So for those of you who are saying I'm skipping, no, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about it from the position that many of you may want to talk about, which is to blame, the political officials who did not pull those triggers. Those are idiots, reckless, stupid people. Craven people. I will put that label on there. And the folks that were harmed, I'm not going to politicize it because those lives were lost and people were harmed. And that was human behavior that is to be put at the feet of the people that made the decision to pull those triggers. Shame on them. Shame on the people in their groups that do this. It's heartbreaking, but lives were lost there too. So our feeling and our energy has to go toward the people who were harmed, the people who lost their lives, not to politicize it. I'm not going to do that, not with something like that, because those were decisions that were made by stupid A people. I can politicize what happened in Texas because of a direct connection to the weather services being gutted. I can see the difference. At the end of the day, what's similar is that lives were lost and people have been harmed, and that we all have to do better. So don't come at me with this, Richard, you're not saying this, Richard, you're not saying that. I'm saying it all. We all have to do better in that space. Because I could go down the path of how many people were assaulted in different communities. I immediately, Devin, because I knew that people want to go down this Chicago's awful garbage, not going there. Because I immediately pulled up 5 other cities in red states and said, how many shootings took place there? And there were shootings in Texas. There were shootings in other cities. There were shootings in red states and red cities. So you're not going to try to catch me and put me into a gotcha. Hey, Shu, why aren't you talking about how bad Chicago is? Because it's bad all over the country. It's a problem that if we had better gun laws across the country, even here in Illinois, ours could even be better. So y'all want to hear that? I said it. Ours could even be better here. But they could also be better in Iowa. They could be better in Minnesota. They could be better in Texas. And the list goes on. So cut out the craziness about trying to make this about Chicago. How about we make it about the country? That's where we need to be. The same thing with the National Weather Service. How about we make that about the country and not about a particular community? Because trust me, you come at me about that in Chicago, I will have the data on other cities in the country. I already did the work because I knew there'd be some people that would text me, hey, Chew, how come you're not? Because I am now. It didn't come out. That's the thing that was so funny about people I want it now, Daddy. I talk about it when I talk about it. You got a problem with the order? Look in the mirror. But it's a problem that we nationally have to face. Weather patterns are here. And the energy that our federal government has to put into this we've always navigated this better when we've had Democrats in office. We always have. Because Democrats aren't about cutting the services that are needed to help people. Same thing with gun control. The assault weapons ban proved the data was there. But who got rid of it? It wasn't Democrats. It's Republicans. So if you want to have a conversation about that, have that conversation. But at the end of the day, that doesn't change the fact, and I'll say it live, dumb A people pulled those triggers this weekend. That's on them. It's not on the mayor. It's not on the state officials. If anything, I can say this in the same sentence. We should have even tougher gun laws. I've said it. Nobody needs an assault weapon, period. I don't give a darn about the Second Amendment when it comes to that. Nobody needs an assault weapon on the streets of America. So, there. Got something to say about that, folks? Bring it on. But as it relates to the 4th of July at large, you all guys heard me last week and how I tried to give you some thoughts and information about the 4th of July weekend and the celebration of the 4th of July, the Independence Day, if you will, of the country, when there were still people enslaved for another 89 years. You guys heard where I came from on that, and I've got a couple clips that we'll get to before our guests come on, hopefully. But let's grab a quick call, Devin, before we go to this break. Let's go to Steve in Des Plaines. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you this morning, young man?
Good. Yourself?
Good. I'd like to talk a little bit about 4th of July. Going into it, with everything going on in the country, there was a part of me, and I love 4th of July. In fact, my birthday is August 4th.
Yeah.
As a kid, July 4th was the 30-day countdown to my birthday. It was wonderful.
I like that.
But,
I like the positive spin on it, man. There you go.
Yeah, and then, you know what? I was thinking, this year it's going to be a little muted with everything going. And I went, and I've been thinking, this idea of America, this is an idea. This is a concept. This is an ideal. this is an idea that hasn't been realized yet. It really hasn't been realized yet. So I take solace in that. And I tell you what, I was at the Arlington Heights parade. And the parade goes right by the Legion Hall. I'm a member of the Legion Hall out there, post 208. And in Arlington Heights, obviously, it's a very white, very upper middle class, very wealthy suburb. And there are a lot of bands from the local high schools in Buffalo Grove and Hershey, very, very middle class, upper middle class areas. But I did notice in all the bands that went by, there was a sprinkling of African American girls and boys, Filipino, Hispanic girls and young boys, in every high school band, sprinkling. And I'm thinking, you know what? Eventually, we're going to evolve. And these young people don't give a crap about gay or this or that or MAGA. These young people are innocent, and I think they're gonna carry the day. And then we're gonna slowly evolve. And I turned my mood around. I had a great weekend. I was at a festival, and I happened to be sharing a picnic bench with a Ukrainian couple. And they were all motivated, and I could barely understand them. We tried to talk a little bit, and they were getting into the fireworks. And I gotta imagine what they think.
Yeah.
Somehow they found their way here, under whatever circumstances, whatever, doesn't matter. And it's like, you know what, we're gonna make it. And then, like I said, with all our pimples and wrinkles, and we got plenty, there's still this kind of like this idea that we can strive for and we got a fight on our hands. That's all.
Yeah, I know. No, Steve, listen, I appreciate you putting it that way. Optimism is my first order of business, and being aspirational about going forward. I believe that too. I look for the I look for the bright spot. There's a song from way back in the day called "Look to the Rainbow," and it always pops in my head when I think about the future. And you may have heard me talk about the movie last week, The African Queen, and looking to the horizon. And I'm in that same camp with you, and I look for those things. And it is a fight, but to get that back and to have that and to maintain it, we have to fight. I mean, we just do. So I'm glad you were able to get out and hang with some folks and engage with. Put yourself, as I say, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that became comfortable. So good for you.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
All right, man. Have a great week. You too. Thanks, Steve.
You too.
All right, Deb, let's go to a quick break. Y'all, the number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
Diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI programs were not designed to do what the right wing is implying that they do, which is to elevate incompetent black people and women into positions that have traditionally been held by competent white men. That's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to do the exact opposite of that, which is make sure that incompetent white men don't get jobs when there are more competent African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, women who could do the job. In other words, DEI is about ending the white old boy network and replacing it with actual merit. And what this administration, the Trump administration, is focused on doing is removing that. Yes, the Trump administration would much rather have incompetent white people in charge. Just look at Pete Hegseth.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly clear, low near 64. Tuesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late, increasing clouds, a high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, another slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, blend of clouds and sunshine with a high around 86. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 68.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the show. Progressives, liberals, Democrats, some Republicans who were tired. I saw this really interesting interview that Allison Camerata did. I hope I got her name right. That she had a group of, I think it's like 8 people who voted for Trump in 2024 and Republicans. And every single one of them. And then, see, I've said this so many times about why do we have journalists, reporters, sitting down with people to ask them why this sort of go to the diner, and sit and talk with only rural Americans or suburban Americans about why they voted the way that they do. How about going to other communities and getting other people and talking with them more readily? The national media. And then we had that for another day. But Allison Camerata had this interview with a group of people, and they were talking about they all voted for Trump. And they voted straight ticket, not only for Trump, but they also voted straight ticket for Republicans. And every one of them said, those days are gone. We made a mistake. One woman was all but begging for forgiveness. I was wrong. I don't know where my head was at, blah, blah, blah. And they got railed on social media. But the point is that, and I said progressives, liberals, Democrats, and even Republicans and independents, we want you to be a part of our fight. Listen, y'all. Unless you are just so lost in this racism, sexism, Christian nationalism, and privilege, I cannot believe, and this kind of goes to what Steve said, I cannot believe that in your heart of hearts, you really want to see what's going on with ICE right now. I mean, your grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents at some point probably weren't legal, or there could be some questions about if they were. And I shouldn't use that word. Let me back up. I apologize. Let me clean up on aisle 7. They probably fit into the category that is being marginalized now. It's very possible. And we've always heard the stories. I've had people say to me, well, and people have called into this show and the family meeting and others. Well, Rich, there were people that were, indentured servants that were from Ireland and from Italy, and they weren't. I get all of that. I do. And it's my point is this. What's happening with ICE right now has got to, if you have any sense of humanity, it's got to hit you in a certain way. You cannot, if you are the good Christian you want to call yourself and the humane person you want to call yourself, and I'm putting a big if on that in capital letters and neon, you cannot actually see this and go, oh yeah, I'm cool with that. If you do, then you have a problem. I'm not playing psychologist, psychiatrist, or sociologist, but you got a problem. You really do. If you can watch these guys show up in masks while people are just trying to live their lives, which is what we're supposed to be about as Americans, and 4th of July and all this other stuff, and be okay with that. And I've seen so many elected officials and other people say, stop using illegals. Because if you go back far enough, you might find out that your ancestors were in that, could be deemed in that same marginalized capacity. So let's stop that. And I have to do a better job of it as well, first and foremost. But there's something wrong with you, and I'm not going to say I'm sorry. If you actually can watch what you've seen ICE doing to people, dragging folks out of cars, rallying up at people's homes and places of business or places of employment and snatching folks, you've got to have something wrong with you. You don't have a problem with that. So that's why I said progressives, liberals, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and all of us, we have to stop. We have to say, you know what, enough is enough. And what Steve was saying about finding those inspirational moments means something. And if you do really believe in the country being stronger and really believe in our country making it and going forward, then you just wouldn't tolerate this. You would not be one that says that we got to snatch all the quote unquote immigrants and get rid of them, or snatch all the people, unless you signed up for that racist, sexist, Christian nationalist, and privileged team. There's no middle ground anymore. You either are there or you are or it's unacceptable, and you want to do something about it. I mean, that's maybe I'm oversimplifying it on this Monday, post July 4th weekend, but I look at it like that. You're either that way or you're not. But those who are not, we want to see you, in this fight, and we got to fight for it. And that's why I wanted to talk about it from that perspective. Because immigration is a part of who we are. It's a part of our country. It's a part of our society. It's a part of, really, if you think about it, it's part of the world. And we're going to play a quick couple of clips on immigration, not just immigration in the United States, but immigration migration, if you will, across the globe. So let's start with the British woman on immigration.
Is this lovely woman? This lovely woman. Protect this woman at all costs.
We are a nation of migrants, and there's hardly probably anybody that lives in the UK that doesn't originally come from somebody who migrated here. We absolutely should open our doors, and people keep going on about, there was mentions about, well, if they're illegal, I heard somebody on the news yesterday say, but if they're illegal, we've got to put them somewhere. They're not illegal. They are migrants from somewhere. I mean, what would people...
They're not illegal. They're migrants from somewhere. Correct. Human beings aren't illegal. Illegal is the term we use when we try to undercut their humanity. Undocumented, perhaps. Illegal? No.
I'm a teacher, and I often speak to my kids about this. I say, how would you feel if something suddenly happened here, really suddenly, you didn't expect a war, something, and we had to send our children somewhere, we had to flee somewhere? Wouldn't we expect to be seen with open arms? And for me, I think we should be embarrassed.
We asked about empathy before. What a clear demonstration of it. When she's a teacher and she talks to her kids about, what if this was you? What if some unexpected circumstance meant that you had no house, no home, your parents had no job, and you just had to flee? Wouldn't you hope for compassion?
What do you make of Suella Braverman using language like invasion, or Lee Anderson, the deputy chair of the Tory party?
You can't possibly record or print what I would say about her.
Bravo. I agree. Protect this woman at all costs. I'll tell you what, you need that. You need a bit of that in a day. You really do.
So, yeah, it's a clip. If you guys want it, I'll get it to you. There's some video that's all along that goes along with it, so it's kind of a good one to see. But yeah, we have to be mindful of the fact that migration, movement, going from A to B to C to D, it's part of humankind. And to then start, to her point, not illegals. I mean, to another point that she made. Imagine if something were to happen in a certain part of the world or a certain community, and you had to go from A to B. You would hope that the folks on the B side would be accepting and with welcoming arms, as she put it. So, I just think that from that standpoint, we have to make sure that we're forcing ourselves to do better and fighting harder, like Steve said. Here's some numbers when it comes to just in the United States about immigration. And look, I haven't talked about the bill yet, but one of the horrible and haunting things about the bill is the increase in the budget of ICE as part of this bill. Let me just put it to you this way. I think that the bill, the budget was somewhere in the single digits, high single digits, and it's gone up into the 30s or 40s of billions of dollars. Which means that as the experts have been putting it out this past weekend, it's going to make ICE the largest law enforcement entity in the country. To what? Get people out of the country that are sustaining us? And there's been some teases from white dudes out there saying that white Americans aren't willing to do the jobs that folks that are from southern border countries are coming to do. I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to, sound racist accidentally by saying something like that. But what other people have said. The point I want to make on this is where the Republican voters, the GOP voters, and I have to put it this way, they must not understand math or the effectiveness of budget. For example, if you're going to take something that was $9 million and increase it 5 times, to, in the 40s of billions of dollars. Imagine, and this is where Republican voters are either lying to themselves, or I'm going to make this and it's going to tighten up some undies, or they're just stupid, willfully, maybe arrogant, all the above of this, as I said in shows in the past. But one thing for darn sure, they can't count when it comes to this. And I know someone say, no, it's true, they just want to hurt the brown people. I get that. But just, if you want to be selfish, how about demand that 5 times multiple of the budget for ICE, go toward things in your community that would improve the livelihood of your community? Because it's not happening. It's just not happening. Look at the numbers. GOP voters, MAGA, Republicans, look at the numbers. I'm not lying. And for those who are out there that like to troll this show and others about, we're always hating on Trump. Well, I'm hating on Trump because I hate what he's doing. No, I'm not bashful about that. You got a problem with it? Look in the mirror. It's not me. It's the problem. It's you and your perception of it. But let's do the math. Do the math, GOP, Republican, MAGA voters. A 5 times multiple of something that money that could go to helping your communities. But 4-legged stool is driving you harder than some common sense. And hate is driving you harder than some love. So when you show up in church this coming Sunday, asking God to forgive you for your sins, maybe you should, during the next 6 days of the week, do a better job so God doesn't have to work so damn hard. Maybe try that out. And to that end, we have a clip to talk about the numbers, percentages, and then we'll go to a quick break. Devin, let's hit on with the day without immigrants.
What if every immigrant suddenly left the United States? That's 45 million people, 13% of the entire population, gone overnight. Sounds dramatic? It gets worse. The hospitality industry collapsed. Your local grocery store? Shelves empty. Because over 70% of America's farm workers are immigrants. Need a doctor? Good luck. More than 25% of our physicians and 15% of our nurses come from abroad. That's millions of patients suddenly without care. Silicon Valley, a ghost town. Over 70% of tech workers are immigrants. The apps you use, the websites you love, the innovations you depend on, gone. Construction, frozen. 1 in 3 workers building America came here from somewhere else. Meanwhile, our population is aging and our workforce shrinking. Without immigration, the system breaks. Immigrants aren't just part of the U.S. They keep it running. So, could America survive without them?
Probably not, y'all. Let's be honest. The numbers don't lie. And I want to know how many people that when you encounter, let me put it this way. So Steve was just saying that he had this encounter and engagement with folks from Ukraine, and he could barely understand them, and they probably could barely understand him, but it was a cool engagement. Steve's words, not mine, and that's great to see. Why not more of that, of all communities? I mean, I'm oversimplifying today for a reason, because this stuff is complicated, it's hard, and it's a pain in the behind. I mean, seems simple to me, but we know where we are, and we know what we have to do, and that's to continue to fight. Let's take a quick break, Devin. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Hal Sparks. Hey, Hal's going to be with us. WCPT is excited to announce that Hal Sparks is coming back to Chicago for another live broadcast at Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli, and Bakery up in Northbrook. Join Hal and Johnny Million for a special live broadcast of the Hal Sparks radio show and program this Saturday, July 12th from 11 until 1. If you can make it there, tickets are now on sale for the low cost of $20 each. To get tickets, visit heartlandsignal.com and click on the Hal Sparks live event banner at the top of the page. They are going fast, so hurry up and make sure you get them. If you won't be able to make it out to Max and Benny's, be sure to tune in live Saturday, July 12th from 11 until 1 Central Time. Also, as we chug along, today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Terry Ryder will be in for Joan Esposito with guest Harvey Nagler, retired head of CBS Radio on the Trump settlement. That'll be a great segment to listen into. Jonathan Katz, curator of the Blockbuster exhibition, The First Homosexuals at Wrightwood 659. Rich Moline, a patient in an ongoing study for pancreatic cancer that is at risk of being canceled due to the federal funding vengeance against Northwestern. Is that just crazy? Elena Vagianos, senior national reporter at HuffPost, where she covers gender and politics. That's Live, Local, and Progressive today, 2 to 5. Terry Ryder sitting in for Joan Esposito, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. And tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Dan Seaver, president of Kenosha Pride, taking place on next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, July 12th. And Gary and Gatewood, Chicago's deputy mayor of public and community safety on Chicago's drop in crime amid even what happened last week. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. Weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Check us out tomorrow on Choose Views. H.H. Leonard and Tracy Halliday, co-founders of 51 Steps to Freedom. Michelle Peltier, co-host of The Family Meeting, with another installment of Moments with Michelle. And Paige Gardner, president and founder of PSG Consulting and founder of Innovating for Public Good. Looking forward to chatting with those folks tomorrow. All right, so at Heartland Signal, there's a really good Heartland Signal on X clip that you guys want to check out. And it's about billboards and Joni Ernst. You guys remember she, during a town hall, said, "We're all going to die," that comment she made. Well, we've got a great clip over at Heartland Signal on X where the DNC is countering Trump's Iowa visit with billboards citing Ernst's "We're all going to die" comment. As Trump visited the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The DNC purchased the billboards, slamming both Trump and Joni Ernst. So check out that clip over at heartlandsignal.com. Okay, so coming off the 4th of July weekend, a couple other things I want you guys to hear that I thought really kind of drive it home, no pun intended, Patty, but drive home the message about the meaning of the 4th of July, and as it relates to us fighting, as it relates to us staying engaged, and as it relates to what this means historically and what it means now, frankly, for all of us. Those of us who are willing to say, all right, we know what we're up against, and I keep referencing back to Steve. We have to be excited. We have to be feeling promise for the future, but we also have to fight for it. And so we have another clip that I think you guys will appreciate that Devin and I put together, and it's the real meaning of 4th of July.
250 years into the American experiment, let us be very clear about what Independence Day is and what it is not. And it sure as is not about declaring yourself a loyal subject. It is about declaring your right to self-determination. It is about the collective power of resistance to authoritarian rule. It is about overthrowing a tyrant to preserve liberty. The Declaration of Independence was then and is today not a symbol of loyalty, but the best breakup letter ever written. July 4th was a bold, dangerous, defiant moral action by a people who were so heartbroken and enraged by abuses of power that they became ungovernable. It was don't tread on me. It was we will ask you not to tread. We will beseech you not to tread. And when you do not hear us, when your lust of unchecked power stands between us and our innate right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, we will stop asking for our rights. And instead, we will exercise our right and duty to remove your boot from our neck. Don't tread on me was real then, and it is real now. Like our patriot forebears, we are living through obstruction of self-governance, the arbitrary use of power, disregard for the rule of law, standing armies without local consent, and the use of violence and intimidation. This is the would-be king our forebears fought and died to keep us free from. This is the tyranny the drafters of the Constitution carefully prepared us to prevent. And make no mistake, we are being tested right now to see if Americans are still patriots. They started by stripping constitutional rights from immigrants, from queer, Muslim, and brown folks, because authoritarians always start by stripping rights from the most marginalized. Because they are testing us to see whether we will demand that the Constitution and the rule of law be enforced. Because if we let the Constitution fall for anyone, it is just a matter of time until the Constitution falls for everyone. American history is complicated and many parts are ugly, and there is a long list of traditions that we can and must do the work of repairing. And yet our deepest American tradition is dissent and demand and dignity. Dissent, demand, and dignity were the guiding principles of the Patriots and of every abolitionist and suffragist and civil rights leader who came thereafter. This is what Independence Day is about. We are the people of the don't tread on me rattlesnake. We do not go seeking out a fight, but if you threaten us, we will stand our ground. When you tread on us, we will make you wish you hadn't. Dissent, demand, and dignity are our inherent birthrights, the spirit of our lineage, and, God willing, our legacy to those who come after us. Happy Independence Day only to those patriots willing to pledge their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to liberty.
Really powerful words, and right on point, though. That's what we have to fight for. And it's not just about the 4th of July. Of course, her clip and her post was a route about the 4th of July, literally. But it's also in a broader sense about how we fight the other 300 plus, 50 plus days a year. And I think that sometimes we miss the point that it's a day-to-day fight. And I know that we want to be able to take breaks. And I appreciate that. I myself want that, need that. We all do. But this is that time when we have to lean in. And so kudos to all who understand the importance of the 4th of July and its historical good and not good. But at the same time, are willing to say, but we still have to fight for the things that they're trying to take from us now. I appreciate some of the texts that you guys have sent me this morning about ICE. Kent, thank you for your text. Cassandra, 312, Cindy, thanks to all you guys. Brett, and hey guys, listen, I'm gonna put his business in the street for a minute. Our man Brett, who is a Teamster, he's going through some stuff health-wise. You don't know him, but I know him because he follows the show. He's a trucker. He's been out there on the road. Send some good love to him because he's going through some health issues. And I just want to let you know, Brett, we're thinking about you. And everybody that's listening anywhere in the country, send some love to Brett, who is one of our truckers who's out there doing good stuff for all of us. And make sure that, we press pause for a moment and send him some good love. Goodness gracious. I was going to take a call, but we're getting too tight to the top of the hour. Can't do that. All right, guys, listen. When we come back from this next break, we will be talking with our good friend Sarah Jones from Politicus USA. And there's a couple of great articles that she's posted that I think you guys will appreciate. And she and I are going to try to kind of carve those up and talk about them a little bit and give you guys some additional perspective on what she's been following and what she's been covering lately. So let's take that break now. Let's get ourselves into the next hour, and then we will have Sarah joining us. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Trying to quit smoking? Dr. David Burns of the American Lung Association says you should have a plan. including a quit date that doesn't clash with a time of high stress at work or at home.
During the time that you're quitting, you want to try to avoid those circumstances and environments where you have been likely to smoke in the past.
Don't ignore the aids at your local pharmacy that might really help.
There are over-the-counter and prescription medications that can really substantially enhance the likelihood of your quitting. In particular, over-the-counter nicotine patches and gum can make a difference in terms of the likelihood of your successful cessation. And I would recommend that people think about using those as part of their cessation attempt.
There are times when a prescription antidepressant may help the effort. Talk with your doctor. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to newnordicusa.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Flash floods in Texas have killed at least 82 people over the 4th of July holiday weekend. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said 41 people remain unaccounted for across the state, including girls attending a summer camp. In an AP interview, local restaurant owner Lorena Guillen says if people had seen what July 3rd looked like, they would have never guessed what was coming that night.
So everybody had a wonderful time. A lot of my customers that were here July 3rd are missing.
The devastation along the Guadalupe River outside of San Antonio has officials facing questions over their preparedness and the speed of their initial actions. Meanwhile, Elon Musk says he's forming the America Party over his disagreement with President Trump's tax cut law signed on Friday. Musk was once an ally to the president and previously led the Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE. And AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Australian woman Erin Patterson has been found guilty of murdering 3 of her estranged husband's relatives by deliberately serving them poisonous mushrooms for lunch.
Anything you'd like to say? As Patterson's defence barrister Colin Mandy leaves the court without making a comment on the verdict, a swarm of reporters are waiting outside. Are you expecting to appeal? The jury in the Supreme Court trial in Victoria State returned a verdict after 6 days of deliberations following a 9-week trial that gripped Australia. Patterson now faces life in prison and will be sentenced later, but a date for the hearing hasn't yet been scheduled. 3 of Patterson's 4 lunch guests that day, her parents-in-law Don and Gail Patterson and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson, died in the hospital after the 2023 meal. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
This is AP News. A team of scientists is bringing in support to help Florida's coral reef survive rising ocean temperatures.
We had this idea that we really needed to try to help Florida's coral reef by introducing more diversity from around the Caribbean, recognizing that some of the biggest threats to corals, like climate change, are really global phenomena.
That's Andrew Baker from the University of Miami and director of the Coral Reef Futures Lab. He and other scientists from the Florida Aquarium and Telemarine in Honduras are transplanting crossbred coral fragments onto a reef off Miami's coast. Corals were brought in from a warm reef off de la Honduras. Elkhorn corals are thriving there despite warm temperatures. Florida, on the other hand, has lost more than 95% of its Elkhorn corals, in part because of coral bleaching caused by prolonged warmth. The scientists will monitor how the corals with an Honduran parent compare to those entirely native to Florida. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly clear, low near 64. Tuesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late, increasing clouds, a high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, another slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, blend of clouds and sunshine with a high around 86. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 69.
Hey, Chicago. Hal Sparks is coming back to Chicago for a live show on Saturday, July 12th. He'll be back at Max & Benny's in Northbrook. The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Guess what? Johnny Million would join him, but most of all, he wants to talk with you about everything going on right now. Tickets are on sale at heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820. Get yours now before they're gone. This remote broadcast is made possible by Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli, and Bakery.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
I asked to speak because I hear you members on the other side talking about spending on the part of the Democrats, spending for education and health care and all the needs of food for our children. I just want to remind all of them, speaking to you, Mr. Speaker, that tax cuts are expenditures. They're the biggest spending in this bill, to the tune of $5 trillion. $5 trillion added to the national debt to give tax cuts to the wealthiest people in the country at the expense of feeding our children, health care for our people, and the education of our children. And nothing brings more money to the Treasury than the education of the American people, from early childhood to lifetime learning and every phase of it in between. So you should be ashamed of yourselves to mock spending on education. The best dollar we spend is on educating the American people and the investments in scientific research, the biblical power to cure that science provides for us, cut in this bill, to spend $5 trillion for the wealthiest people in America.
Yeah, that's the horror of all this. And it's Monday morning, and we have our good friend Sarah Jones with us from Politicus USA to talk about that and a whole bunch of other things in the short period of time that we have. Good morning, Sarah, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. So good to be here, especially after this very bizarre July 4th.
I haven't heard anybody put it that way, but yeah, I would say bizarre is an appropriate word or reference. It was a bizarre 4th of July weekend on a lot of different fronts. How was your 4th of July weekend, though? I mean, I will have to ask that question to see how your weekend went.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was pretty traumatized, actually. It was really sad. And I tried to focus on, that we got to July 4th through fighting, actually, having British troops in our country and not having representation. A lot of the issues that are coming up now, and a party, Republicans, who want to roll back basically the concept of the United States of America, the independence that we had. They want to take us back to being a monarchy or being under the rule of a corporation, basically, that would operate that way. So it makes me sad, and it's really difficult, but it's also, I think I wrote about this in one of my pieces. Nobody gets to choose their fights. This fight has been brought to us, and we have to rise to the occasion. People have fought worse things, and this is just what it is. We don't get a choice. We have to see what our characters are made of, and it's an opportunity for us to stand up for our values. So,
yeah, I mean, and it's sad that we that we're here, but we are here. And the fight is in front of us, and we have one option. We have one choice. There's a couple of options, but we have one choice, and the choice is we have to fight. Just for FYI, you guys, Sarah wrote this great article and post that's titled, and you guys should make your way over to Politicus USA and her Substack work. It's phenomenal. She and Jason Eastley are great writers, and they care about getting a message out to folks that can appreciate where we have to be. This is one of the many that Sarah wrote in the last couple of days, and it's titled Liberals, Conservatives, and Independents Form Initiative to Fight for Democracy and Freedom. And earlier in the show, I talked about, I always say progressives, liberals, Democrats, and I've gone back to something I said a while ago, which is adding in independents, Republicans, and everybody that really genuinely cares about the country, and that recognizes you can't. And if you are a person that in your heart or in your mind you say that you are a heartfelt person of humanity, then you can't sit back and not see what's happening and be willing to tolerate this. And I'm talking about everything from immigration, particularly snatching people, calling them illegals, grabbing babies from mom's arms, to all those things that we see. It's got to horrify you, and you have to, from irrespective of your political stripe, be willing to step up, because that's about humanity, which has no political stripe. And to your point, and your article about liberals, conservatives, and independents form initiative to fight for democracy and freedom, talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about the basis of what you wrote and why you wrote this.
Well, I saw that these folks had come together, and it's people from all walks of life that came together, from Pete Buttigieg to Stacey Abrams to Sophia Bush, Linda Carter, Celeste Ng, Wesley Clark. There's just people from all political stripes coming together to say, what we see is not okay. This is not okay, and we want to stand up for these freedoms, and we want to defend people's rights. And part of that is to educate people and remind people that you have these rights. This country was built on these premises, and they're all going to stand up for that. Now, people might think, what does that do? Well, it actually does a lot, because I am really hoping that many of us have learned from our history books. And so we know that this time around, when you see concentration camps being built, and when you see a president threatening to arrest people who are U.S. citizens and put them in concentration camps and arrest people for dissent, when you have big names like this that are willing to stand up and say they will stand up for what's right, they will be that voice, that's really important. And then it's also important to counteract. There's a lot of propaganda. It's like a fire hose of propaganda coming at all of us from the Republican Party, and from, I'm sorry to say, way too much of the media that's sort of serving almost as stenography for them. And so, it is what it is. They're stenography for billionaires, and we have to have some kind of counteraction to that. And so when you have people with big platforms, with big names, who are willing to help educate everybody and remind everybody, you have these rights. We are going to tell you, this is our value system. We won't let this be forgotten. And it's just critical. And when I saw that they were doing this, it really hit me, because like the Independence Day, July 4th, it hit me in the gut. I think I just spent the day in such a state of mourning, and then contrasting that with what I'm so impressed by the people who continue to get out and protest, who call their representatives and their senators, the states that are standing up. Your governor's a good example of that. States that are, and that's another way. We have all these ways of fighting that they didn't have in Nazi Germany, and I just want to make that clear. There's so much fear, and I share that fear. I'm not going to whitewash that. I'm not going to pretend it's not there. It is there, and it's real. But there are also differences to what was going on in Nazi Germany, and that's important. We have state-controlled elections here. We have governors in some blue states who are willing to stand up and do things to protect their people. And yes, these are all going to be fights. It isn't like, they're going to stand up and then he's going to give them their rights. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a battle for sure. but it's really important to have people willing to stand up. And so when I saw this initiative, I thought that's what people need. They need to know that they're not alone. When you see somebody else speaking up, and I'm sure everybody has this example in their personal life, when somebody, or you've read someone, or you've listened probably to Richard, or you listen to someone speaking up, it emboldens you. And it gives you the sense, when you know you're not alone in a fight, it helps you rise to the moment. And so we all have to remember constantly that we are not alone. And I think when we look at presidents who've really roused the American people and helped remind them of who they are and what they can do, the two that come to mind, for me at the moment, there's many of them, but I would say at the moment, JFK and Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them got into the whole thing about standing up and about, Barack Obama, yes, we can. He would always say, it's not about me, it's about you.
Yep.
And that was to empower each of us. We are the power of this country. And that is very true. It's baked into our system. He's trying to take that away. He and the Republican Party and this, I would say, corrupt Supreme Court are trying to take that away from people.
And it's
that doesn't mean that. Oh, go ahead.
No. You're going to say that doesn't mean.
It doesn't mean that it's going to work. And I think that's how I ended this piece, right? It's a battle. They want to win this battle, but we're fighting back. The conclusion to this fight it's not a foregone conclusion.
No, not at all. And listen, talking with Sarah Jones of Politicus USA, and thank you, as always, for being with us on our Mondays where we can chat. One of the things that I want to talk about, and specific to the article and some of the pieces that Sarah keeps referring back to with this initiative, and the conservative, liberal, and independent leaders joined together to launch We Hold These Truths, an initiative to promote freedom, equality, and democracy. And let me go further. Sarah, one of the things that they put out is a really great post on social media. And the actress Sophia Bush, who is the actress that was in the TV show here in Chicago PD, has really been a voice and really spoken out. And to your point, used her power, her notoriety, if you want to call it that, to speak to this. And one of the things that they put out, you guys, is we still hold these truths, even though they are under attack. To Sarah's point, it will take all of us to protect and defend people, their rights, and our future. Join us at weholdtruths.org. I would highly recommend that you guys, if you're listening anywhere, following anywhere in the country, go to weholdtruths.org. What they're doing is about unification, unity, bringing people together. And I'll read a little bit from what she posted, Sophia Bush. I spent a lot of time yesterday reflecting on a feeling I've been feeling deep in my bones this year, a mixture of the profound and the profane, the awe and love I hold for this country and what she is supposed to be, and the deep pain I witness the way she's being bastardized, gutted, and remade in the image of a terror state. So, to that messaging, to what Sarah just said, it is an optimistic look at us recognizing that just because they're pushing us, just because they are creating all of these scenarios, it should further embolden us to fight even harder. And why I said what I said coming off of July 4th weekend, that we have to fight even harder if we actually believe and truly do cherish the things. And I say this coming from the perspective of a black man in America, a country that's loved me less than I've loved it, to use the phrase of Glenn Doc Rivers. This country in many places has loved me less than I've loved the country. And the same thing for women. It's loved women less than than women have actually loved this country. So believe me, if I'm still willing to fight, then I think that so many other people should say we have to continue to fight. Because, I just feel that that's part of our responsibility. As much as I complain about things that are happening, my job, my belief at this point in my life is to fight for us and to fight forward for us.
You said that so perfectly, and I it's. I'm really glad you mentioned your experience and the experience of many people who are Black Americans, as well as women, as being, having our rights taken away from us consistently throughout history, not having rights. It does. Sometimes I think, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody, but when I see people really bemoaning, like, okay, this is too much. We've lost. Everything is gone. And I think, wow, I mean, that's it? You're just going to, like, that's not, the rest of us have been out here. We're still fighting for basic rights to be treated like human beings. Black Americans don't have that in this country. They have never had that. Women don't have that in terms of our bodies. We don't have the right to live right now in many states. But we're out here. We're not going to say we're defeated. I think defeatism, and I see that a lot on the left. I wish I didn't, but I do. It's like this constant kind of refrain that has really permeated. And, talk about the tail wagging the dog. That has permeated the Democratic Party to the point where we are seeing fight now. But for so long, they didn't fight because they're reading that from us. They're reading that from their base. And the base will be, we can never win. That's it. And there was this attraction to being the underdog for so long. And I would invite people to not think about it like that anymore.
Nope.
Think about and embrace being a victor. You need to write the history of this country, and the only way you can do that is when you are victorious in your battles.
And
so
in your
you have to get
mindset.
out there.
And in your mind.
Exactly.
That's the part.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to add to that, Sarah. It's in our mindset that because I believe that's what goes first. It's taking away the desire, taking away the aspiration, taking away the will, mental will. I believe people physically can fight, not literally fight, but physically have the strength to get out and do it. It's the mental will that they're trying to take away. They're trying to make this so incredulous and so awful and so, creating such an element of being downtrodden and hideousness that it takes the will away mentally first. And I'm a mentally strong-willed person. I will not allow that to happen to me or those that are around me. And in this case, around me means the country. And so to your point, Sarah, we as the Democratic mindset has got to be less about being the underdog or anything of that nature, and we've got to be the ones that break some stuff, and we got to be the ones that knock over, as I say, the tables and get people's attention and let them know we are here for the fight. Are you ready?
And we have to want to win. That I think there's this aversion to power on the left. And I'm just speaking, I'm going to keep it real. I've seen this in the Democratic Party since I started writing in 2010. We don't, as a culture, power has been abused. And so you see people stand back from power. And we've seen our leaders and elected officials not grab the power they've been given by us. And I want to change that. And
it's because what happens is, and this is we're just being transparent, y'all. The minute that someone that does recognize the power of power used correctly, then they get ostracized, they get painted into a corner, and then if that person is not strong enough, they will wither to that. And I'll give you some examples. The people like let's use an example. CBS and ABC have a lot of power, wouldn't one say? But they yielded to some lawsuits that they could have actually won over with Trump. That, to me, that's not elected officials. But let's look at the political folks who stepped to the mic and then got criticized and didn't wither. I mean, every one of them that's done it, whether it be Jasmine Crockett, ALC, Eric Swalwell, the list goes on. When they step to the mic and they get ostracized or they get thrown a bunch of garbage on them, they just keep fighting their way through it. And people are drawn to that. So I've said on an individual basis, we individually, when we step out and fight and take the lead, people are drawn to that. And that's what allows us as regular, everyday folk to have the impact. That's why these groups, that's why this this organization, this initiative is so powerful because, yeah, I mean, they've got certain things at risk. No, everybody does, but they're still deciding that, you know, we still hold these truths. And I think we have to be willing to do the same thing in our daily lives.
Yeah, I think it's so important for what I want people to think about doing in their daily lives as one way to fight back against this horrible fire hose of propaganda is to repeat in the outer world, whether you do it online or at work or with your family members, wherever you are in the world, repeat every day. Trump and Republicans took away health care for tax cuts for the rich, which they did not pay for.
Yep.
Even by taking away this health care, they did not pay for that. So they took away food from babies. They took away food from seniors. They hurt veterans. They hurt people with disabilities. And they did all that to try to justify a tax cut for the wealthy that they are not even paying for.
Nope.
They're not fiscal conservative. So on every level, what they are doing is lying to the American people.
They are not fiscal conservatives. That is correct. Because
they are not.
They are not.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah, you may have heard me earlier when I said that just looking at this change to the ICE budget that's part of this bill, just that alone, now making them, by many measures, the largest law enforcement entity in the country, or certainly, you know, in this current administration. They've 5 times the budget. So from $9 billion to somewhere close to billion dollars. How much of that money, I mean, how many people can you deport that if that's what ICE is supposed to be doing? First of all, the other side of that, the double-edged side of that sword is you deport all these people that you're saying that you're illegals, which is horrible to say. So we know that what dearth that's going to create when it comes to just services and sustaining the country. But more importantly, why aren't GOP voters yelling and screaming, you're going to take that kind of money to get rid of people when my community still needs support and help? How about Appalachia? Where are you? Where are the folks in Appalachia? Where are the people in southern and rural communities throughout the country complaining about that redirection and significant increase in the budget?
Well, I did write about, and I should clarify, we have two, there's Politicus for news on Substack, and then there's the Daily, which is where these long-form, like research-based pieces are. So there's 2 different places. I think you just read one from the Daily, but there's what are they doing with ICE? They're giving ICE more money than the FBI, the ATF, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the Bureau of Prisons, all combined.
Yep.
Right? So they are emboldening ICE to be like a private police force, and I think that's an accurate assessment of the situation we've already. I don't even know, when we see these ICE agents, they've got their faces covered a lot of times. We don't even really know that they have been trained in any way. We don't even know that they actually work for ICE.
Yeah.
They could be vigilantes of Trump's. We don't know. But to your question about what's happening and why are Trump voters, because, you know, I live in a district, let's see, 69.2% voted for Trump here.
Wow.
And, yeah, it's very interesting. I heard people talking, and I wrote about this. Like, it was very interesting. I heard people talking out in the wild about this bill and how they were taking away all these things that people here have relied on. And many of them have these personal experiences with, SNAP, help for single mothers, help for kids, like the job force just various ways, the social safety net, basically. And so I heard these people in all these different places talking about this and being really upset. I do want to, clarify that doesn't mean they're going to vote any differently. What Republicans are so good at, and especially Donald Trump, is they're good at counteracting. Like, I think I've talked to you about how I watched them do this with January 6th. At first, people here, even big-time Trump supporters, were really upset about January 6th. Then give them, 6 months of propaganda, and they've all turned the page on that, and they think that it was Antifa and the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
They really believe that now. And so even though this stuff is trickling down, and the thing that I thought was really interesting was some of these people, and I would say probably most of them, when I asked them, what do you read? How do you know about this? Oh, I don't read the news. This is just what's happening by talking to one another in their community. Now, that is harder to propagandize against. Because when people have a personal experience, it's much harder to tell them that's not real. Yeah. And we've seen that with Trump supporters in particular, although I'm sure it's true of all of us, but I think more specifically to them, this kind of lack of empathy and a lack of imagination to apply something that is true in their life and understand that it is true for others. And that there is a missing link there. Then it probably comes with the experience and the values that you see on the far right of even in their own homes. There's more of a autocratic kind of system with parents. There's an embrace of physical, abuse.
Yeah, the household that it leads to a conversation, not a conversation, but a mindset where people are willing to, in some ways, kind of look past it and say it's okay, it's the norm. And it's crazy, Sarah. Man, how quickly the time goes by when you're it's like,
it sure did. Yeah.
All right.
I just looked at it. I was like, oh, sorry. I gotta go.
No, it's all right. Listen, Sarah, it's great to have you with us as always. So appreciate your work and all that you write about. You guys check out Sarah Jones, Politicus USA, as well as The Daily with Sarah Jones. Great work. And we always appreciate having your perspective here on our Monday. So thanks, Sarah, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Richard. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Devin, let's take a quick break. Let's go to commercial. We'll come back, and then we'll get with our next guest, Mike Nellis, political strategist, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moretlawoffice.com. That's More spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
WCPT replay.
Let's just bring him in live. David Desmalchian.
With, lots of fits and starts and lots of, being, food insecure and housing insecure and financially unstable and stressed about medical and all these things over the last 15 years, I'm now sitting in a pretty incredible pool of gratitude. It's just like you imagine me right now, close your eyes, see a dude floating in a hot tub. The gratitude is right up to my chin and I am grinning.
And, the nice thing about those hot tubs is that you can fart whenever you want. Nobody knows you farted, who farted. It's just fart free.
Here's the problem, man. Mine have a very distinct aroma. And the watery bubbles, when they carry them to the surface, you can't hide that.
They turn green. They turn green.
You're sitting close to me, which my kids do. They go, Dad. I go, what are you talking about? It's the thing. It's the bubble maker.
Oh, on the airplane is the worst, right?
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly clear, low near 64. Tuesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late, increasing clouds, a high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, another slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, blend of clouds and sunshine with a high around 86. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 69.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
I want to thank Republican congressmen and women because what they did is incredible last night. And the Senate, the Republican Senate, we got, not with all of the things we did with the tax cuts and rebuilding our military, not one Democrat voted for us. And I think we use it in the campaign that's coming up, the midterms, because we got to beat them. But all of the things that we've given, and they wouldn't vote only because they hate Trump. But I hate them too, you know that? So it's sort of, I really do, I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country. You want to know the truth?
Well, a president is supposed to, I'm going to say, I won't say love, but certainly not hate the country, a half of the country. And the Democrats don't hate this country. There's a lot that probably could. And there's probably more Republicans, believe it or not, that hate this country. Because they've said they hate the way this country, where this country's going, and they hate that word seems to be. But for the president to say that they hate members of our community, that to me says like one more dagger that should be in his heart. He doesn't deserve to be president. Let's bring on our good friend Mike Nellis, political strategist. Mike, welcome to the show. What did you? I'll just dive into the deep end of the pool with you. My man Mike Nellis, as I say, my new label for him, a dude that's got a lot of things to say about a lot of things. Welcome to the show.
Put that on my tombstone, buddy.
Hey, man. Well, you're going to be here for a long, 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 long time. So we won't be thinking about that for another 40 years. Listen, man.
God, I hope it's more than 40 years.
Okay, 50. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you short. My sister would have been.
I'm not even 40 yet, man.
Okay, well, let me back up. 50 plus years. My sister would have been disappointed because she's of the mindset that everybody gets to make it to 100. So I'm sorry, Mike. 60 plus years. There we go. But doggone it.
There we go.
How do you hate an entire half of the country? That's what this boils down to me. I know that we could bend ourselves into pretzels about how he said it, what he was saying, blah, blah, blah. But that to me was, when I saw that clip, and I want to talk to you about a couple things, a couple comments that you made on social media, but doggone it. I mean, how do you get there?
I mean, his entire ideology is based on grievances, mostly personal, and it's why you see him go after his political enemies. It's why you see him go after Harvard because his kids couldn't get in. So I'm not surprised by it, but ultimately I think he says things like that to distract from what this bill is actually going to do. And one thing I actually agree with Donald Trump on is you're going to hear a lot about this budget in the midterms, but you're not going to hear a lot about it from vulnerable Republicans. You're going to hear a lot about it from Democratic candidates. Yeah. And you're going to hear about how they made tax cuts for billionaires permanent, and they made the minuscule relief that they gave to the American people, which is incredibly limited, temporary. And 70% of the benefits for the bill go directly to, corrupt billionaires and folks who already have way too much. And, it's that old, why is Warren Buffett's secretary paying more in taxes than Warren Buffett? Right. And it's because of bills like this that are going to tax her more heavily. And the vast majority of people's taxes are going to go up. Meanwhile, rich people's taxes go down. And that's not right. And he wants you focused on who you hate and who you disagree with and who's different from you. And I want to focus on what he's doing to hurt you because people are struggling already so much.
Yeah, and let's just look at a part of the bill. I talked about this earlier. You may have heard me talk about it, rather. The ICE portion of the bill, I mean, it's a five times multiple. $9 billion right now, or prior to the bill, it's going to get closer to $40+ billion. How about, half of that increase going to families and communities that need the money to sustain? How about Appalachia? How about rural communities in the South, the North, and the East and the West? But we're going to spend that money or allocate that money toward getting rid of people? That's insane. And but they keep voting for it. And that's the part where I look at this and go, this is what folks said they didn't vote for, but in fact, this is what they're getting. A five times increase to a law enforcement agency that is going to continue to embarrass itself and cause harm to so many Americans, so many people who are here in America. Let's put it that way, because I know folks want to call them illegals. That's crazy, man. You posted and had some comments about that part of the budget.
Well, ICE is a law enforcement agency that's out of control. Let's be perfectly clear about that. Donald Trump's put them off the leash. They're throwing people into the back of a van masked, and that's not right. And my father was a federal government worker. He worked for the FBI for 30 years. I don't think he ever had to go to work in a mask because he was proud of the work that he was going to do. And that rubs me the wrong way, because I think I have a lot of respect for anybody who puts on a uniform and tries to keep us safe, but they shouldn't be given orders to round up people at Home Depot. Or I don't know if you saw the story from a few weeks ago. There was a kid on his way to he's like a high school kid on his way to a field trip. Yeah. And they pulled him off on the side of the road. They pulled him out of the field trip, and that's not right either. So, and if you just look at the polling and you look at the reaction from the American people, this is not what they voted for. And even if this is what he said, this is certainly not how people understood it to be. They want violent criminals removed. I agree with that. Anybody who's violent should be removed, but we should not be taking out people who are just living their lives. And what we should be doing is Congress should be passing comprehensive legislation to give people a path to citizenship, because they've been here for a long time and they've been doing jobs that nobody else wants to do, and they're productive members of society, frankly, far more productive than anybody that Donald Trump has pardoned in the last couple of months. So I just the increase in the ICE budget, what upsets me about it is, one, it's massive, and it suggests that they're going to triple down on everything that has angered the American people, particularly in what happened in L.A., but has been playing out in other cities like Chicago. But they keep telling us we're broke. They keep saying we don't have money to pay for cancer research for kids. We can't make sure that you don't go bankrupt when you get sick. But we got all this money for ICE. We got all this money for tax cuts for billionaires, and it's a matter of your priorities. How you spend your money is what you value. And they value rounding people up and kicking them out of the country, whether they're violent or not. They don't value making sure that you can put food on the table, or whether or not you have health care when you get sick. And that irks me.
I mean, I didn't want to. I know you wanted to say something else. Mike's also salty, guys, just in case you didn't know.
I have to be very careful that I don't get you guys fined.
No, man, listen, I'm with you on that, because that's the passion that's needed. And that's what Sarah was talking about earlier, and one of our callers was talking about. That's the passion that's needed to keep us fighting and moving forward. I got to ask you a question. I mean, the budget, not that I keep calling it the budget, the bill, and the pieces inside of it, ICE being one of them, which is a crazy amount of money, an insane amount of money to allocate to a law enforcement agency, when in fact that's money that we know, simple math, should be going to people who they thought they voted for it, but they got, as you said, they got screwed. They in the last election, that people were saying that they were concerned about all the things that were not being fulfilled by the current party in power, the Democratic Party, and they wanted to vote for the people that would take care of this. And in fact, they've actually moved backward. This bill, for those people who voted for Trump, the Republicans, and whatever, it actually moves them backward. It doesn't put them to the front of the line. It puts the self-interest of this administration to the front of the line and not the people that actually voted for it or thought they were voting for this. Mike, go ahead. You were going to say something, and I want to pivot to something else you commented on. Go ahead.
I mean, let's frame this in very simple terms for a second, though, because why did Donald Trump get elected? Because he promised to make grocery prices go down on day one. He focused on affordability for the most part. Obviously, there was a ton of crazy ridiculousness in the campaign, but his biggest focus was, I'm going to get prices down. I'm going to help you. And we are 6 months into Trump 2.0, and he hasn't done a single thing to help anybody except himself and his very wealthy buddies. And that is not right. It's just not. And so I think that's why you see his approval rating tanking. And this bill is the only signature piece of legislation that this Congress has passed. This is the least productive Congress I've ever seen. They have zero interest in getting anything done. They're spiking the football on taking health care away from 20 million Americans, from cutting health care for kids. By the way, the cuts to CHIP in this bill are horrible.
It's horrible.
And the cruelty of the bill, just to enrich people who already have so much. And I don't begrudge anybody for their success, all right? You work hard, you come up with a good idea, you build a company, good for you. I got no problem with that. But you got to pay your fair share. And we got to help people who are the worst off. And the other thing that drives me nuts in this is they're assuming the worst intent of everybody. If you listen to these Republican members of Congress, what they're saying is, oh, if you're on Medicaid, you're lazy. Oh, if you should take better care of your kids. Well, there are people who are working like 2 or 3 jobs, making minimum wage, trying to survive, don't have the privileges that you have, and you're taking away their lifeline and making it even harder for them after you promised to help them. And there's reasons that MAGA supporters like Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer and a whole bunch of others, and it pains me to say this, they have been screaming from the rooftops, don't cut Medicaid, because there are people in our coalition who rely on Medicaid, and it's going to move them away, and they're right about that.
Yep.
And they could not help themselves because that's what the Republican Party does. Every time they take power, they got to cut critical government services that people rely on. They need to cut taxes for the rich, and they're going to do nothing to help you. Nothing.
Mike, and to that point, I was hoping we'd be able to get to this because I definitely want to get your thoughts on this. Talking about cutting benefits and who it's going to hurt. It hurts all of us. I mean, whether it's a dotted line to hurting folks, and it's a direct hit to hurting other folks. But here's one, to your point about cutting services. What's happened down in Texas with this flooding. I mean, it's a horrible situation, and the number, the death toll, the missing people still. But this is not that we could have changed what Mother Nature was going to do, but we sure as hell could have given people enough warning and enough caution. And to see that an agency, NWS, is now being blamed by officials in Texas, when in fact it's officials in Texas and the administration that decided that they were going to cut from an agency. I mean, I know that you were hot under the collar about this one. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, first of all, the situation's horrible, right? I think like 80 people are dead, at least. I haven't checked it this morning to see what the count is, but I know it's a lot of little girls because it's like a camp, right, for kids.
A Christian girls' school camp. Sorry, day camp. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the last week in Montana with my son and my wife, and like if something had happened, like God knows. So it's horrible. I don't want to veer into like conspiracy territory because I think there's been a lot of like wild wrong takes about who's to blame for this. But what I do know is the government, the state government, the federal government, they exist to keep us safe, amongst other things. And one of the ways they keep us safe is by keeping us properly informed about what the heck is happening. And I do think they've made some significant cuts to these parts of the government that are supposed to track the weather. And they've been wanting to outsource the National Weather Service to the Weather Channel. Or I think Donald Trump, I forget the name, it might not be the Weather Channel, but one of his big donors owns a weather company, right?
Yeah, it's not the Weather Channel.
It's part of the reason Fox News has been building their competitor to the Weather Channel specifically for this, right, too. And
that's right.
If the Republicans want to privatize everything, but there are certain things that shouldn't be privatized because they're for the common good. And I think in this case, I want to make sure that our government knows as best as they can what's going to happen with the weather to give people good guidance so that they can be safe. And it sounds like they didn't do that here. And that's why Texas is blaming the federal government. The federal government's blaming Texas, and nobody's trying to solve any problems right now. They're just running a blame game. And At the end of the day, we have a bunch of kids that are dead. And I don't know if it's the fault of these cuts, but I know we need an investigation. And I know that Congress isn't going to do anything to even find out what the heck happened here. They're just going to ignore it and move on because they don't care.
Yep. The folks, when we talk about Congress, let's be as specific as we can. The Republicans in Congress,
Republicans in
the
Congress.
House,
yeah,
and it's so. I mean, listen, we all do it, and I'm not being critical of you. I'm just saying we all do it. We all say Congress. We mean the GOP, the 218 that voted for this bill, and you know, I think that when we talk about this in the bigger picture, Mike was great at breaking down that. One of the things that we believe the government, federal and state, and local, should do is be, if nothing else, an early warning system of whatever might be coming our way that's going to be harmful or dangerous for any of us. And that doesn't matter if you live in a small community, rural community, anywhere in America, if you live in downtown New York, Chicago, L.A., Boston, wherever. That's one of the things that we should not have to have any debate on. It should not be a partisan item, but it has become that. And now we've got folks in Texas that are suffering and families that are suffering because of this.
It's going to be an issue when we get to tornado season. It's going to be an issue when we get to hurricane season. They're not taking this stuff seriously. And so, like, this flood in Texas is a freak weather event. I admit that. But, like, maybe they could have given them a few more minutes or hours to get out of there. But what happens when a tornado starts to form and people don't even know that there's a tornado in their area? And, like, every year there's at least, like, 2 or 3 small towns that get devastated by that. If that increases to 6 or 7, that puts a lot of burden on those people. It puts a lot of burden on the federal government to have to go in and rebuild. They're not thinking through the consequences of their decisions at all.
And they're not going to be prepared. I mean, let's be honest. When we saw what happened in the central southeast, you know, they pulled money back from FEMA already. So it's a continuation of this. We promised you, to Mike's point earlier, we're going to do all these things. We're going to make everything right better. We're going to get rid of those illegals and bad people. And every step of the way, and I know Mike and I mean, we get it, guys that are listening. We know that Mike and I know that we are yelling to the gods of our own community, to put it that way. But at the same time, one of the things that we cannot not do is we have to keep talking about this. We have to keep our foot on the gas, because part of what I know, and I don't believe or think that they want us to do, Mike, is to look away and to not think about it, it's not happening to me, it's over there, it's some other community. But the reality is it's indirectly impacting everybody, because it is, when we talk about it from a safety standpoint, if one part of the country has got a weather issue, you can darn well believe that other parts of the country are going to have their weather condition. It just will be it'll be a different trauma. It will be excessive heat, it could be excessive cold, it could be tornadoes, hurricanes, or this weather that we just saw in Texas. So we have to get people out of the mindset that's over there. That's that group of people. That's that community. It's not impacting me, so I don't have to worry about it. Because the next thing you know, it's at your doorstep.
Yep. And it's going to be extreme cold in Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Like, Governor Gretchen Whitmer had to go to Washington and basically come pretty close to groveling with Trump just to get him to do his basic duty, which is to make sure that people have the funds they need to rebuild and protect their community. The electrical grid in Texas goes down anytime it's more than 110 degrees, which happens quite frequently in Texas. So we have a lack of public servants who are willing to actually solve any of these problems. And if you have time to indulge me in a story, I have a story from my trip from Montana.
Please do.
Can I tell it? Okay. I never know when we have to cut for breaks.
We're good.
So I'm in Montana. We're driving down Flathead Lake. We're stopping at little coffee shops as we go, and we stop the place. And one of the things I like to do is I was picking up a local newspaper, and just sitting down and read it. My wife was taking good photos of this. There's a story that the local library at Flathead Lake in Montana has 50 Wi-Fi hotspots that are funded by some federal government program that sounds like it probably got cut by Doge. And the community is outraged because they need this access to internet in rural Montana. And the internet situation in Montana is bad. And the head of the library in Montana is quoted in this piece going, well, I don't think we should be providing welfare internet to people. That's not the role of the federal government. And we're not going to fund it from the county. And then a group of people in the community came forward and said, hey, look, we're willing to pay for this because so many people need it. And they rejected the money. So private citizens were like, we'll pay for it through the library. They said no, and the community's crying out for this. And this is my issue is these elected officials, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you run for office, your job is to solve problems. Your job is to make things better, try to help people. And we have way too many people that are just abdicating that responsibility, and that's playing out at every level of the government, whether it's Trump and the Republicans in Washington cutting Medicaid, cutting taxes for rich people, cutting critical government programs, cutting the National Weather Service, which leads to situations like Texas, or it's these local guys that are just not showing up and doing the job to solve small problems like, rural internet access. And so that's what, it's like deep inside of me, it's driving me crazy because we just don't have enough people that are doing the work. And
she literally, I'm sorry, I just can't let this go. She literally said we aren't going to provide, what did you call it, welfare? Say that again.
Welfare Wi-Fi or something like that. Yeah. I took a photo of it. I'll text it to you. You can see it. It dripped me nuts. The other thing in the story, too, that drives me crazy, it's the assumption of the worst intent of people. Because in this article, the same person who said the welfare Wi-Fi quote was like, well, I think most people are just taking this Wi-Fi or this hotspot and they're going up to the mountains to look at pornography. And then people in the article are like, no, I'm applying for jobs. And I'm trying to, pay my bills with this because I don't have access to the internet, and this is easier than mailing in a check. And so they're assuming the worst intent. It's the same thing that happened with Medicaid and with the Republicans in Congress, claiming that anybody who's on Medicaid is lazy and not getting a job.
Yeah, did you see,
or is an illegal immigrant?
Did you see what Besant said? I mean, that's just. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up again. I had it in front of me. I wanted to bring it to you. Steve Besant said that that the people who are on. No, Mike Johnson. No, it was Besant. I'm sorry. He said that the people who are on Medicaid, yeah, they should just get a job. That they now are going to have to realize what everybody else is having to do, and that's to get a job. Trump's rich Treasury Secretary tells people on Medicaid to get a job. Steve Besant has a net worth of around $600 million, and his answer to people who will be losing their Medicaid benefit is to tell them to get a job. Really? Come on. Get a job?
Most of the people who don't have a job on Medicaid are in between jobs because they got laid off.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of people who 1 year are on Medicaid and need it, they get a job. It's like 75% of people have a job within the next year, and they're cutting those people off. Yeah. So they're not even trying to create a merit system. People are trying to get work. Fundamentally, the vast majority of people want to work because it's a value of dignity, and they want to be able to put food on the table. There's this idea that Republicans have created that you can just live off the government dime. That is not a comfortable way to live. No. I'm not saying there aren't people who are doing it, but because I'm sure that there are. But the vast majority of people are good. They're working hard. They're trying to support their families. They're trying to just figure out how to survive. And you're cutting their legs out from under them. Well, and then being so callous about it.
Well, here's the thing too. To your point, the construct from the Republican Party, and we are, Mike and I are not just generalizing because we've got the Republican Party members of the Republican Party, whether they be elected officials or they be on a national level or local level, like this woman just that Mike referenced. They're saying that about people who actually happen to be the voters for their party because the data backs up the fact that the majority of the people that are receiving those benefits are people who happen to be large parts of the GOP. And that's the crazy, hypocritical part of the numbers. But they don't care. They're callous about it, to your point earlier. Mike.
Well, can I have one more thought? Let's tie this back to where we started this conversation, which is Donald Trump saying that he hates the Democrats. I don't hate the people who vote against me. I don't. And I feel bad, really, truly bad, for people who voted for Donald Trump and believe that he was going to help them, and now he's taking away their health care. And if there's anybody out there that's listening on that, please know that at least one Democratic strategist and one radio host give – I'm not going to curse, but give an S a value. And I want to make that clear. We need more people that are going to run for office because they want to solve problems, because they care about their community, because they want to get their hands dirty. And that's what we need from you. So if you're out there, I hope you run for something and just get involved in your community because we need you. We don't have enough of you.
And with that point, Mike, thanks for being with us, man. And it's always a track meet with us. Our brains are just like, we're right. We got a strategist and a radio host that we care. And we want that to be known. So, Mike, have a good week, man. It's always good to hear your voice. I'm glad you had a safe 4th, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Talk soon.
All right, bye now. Wow, guys, we come to the end of the show again. And I don't know if we probably shouldn't. Okay. Devin's looking at me. Nope. Really, really, really tight. 30 seconds of it, maybe? Okay. George, real quickly, man, we got 30 seconds. Sorry for that. But make it quick, man. We wanted to get you in and not leave you hanging. What's happening?
Great show, Richard. With Mickey Mouse Johnson, Speaker of the House, he cannot wipe the smile off his face ever since Trump signed that bill into law.
Yeah.
Johnson's priorities got to be rearranged. There's always going to be natural disasters in this country. He needs to set aside the money for that. Okay? And for the oligarchs, he needs to send his prayers and thoughts.
That's right. All right. Thanks, George. We appreciate your call, man. Thanks for holding. Guys, we made it to another end of a show. Thank you for being with us this morning. Thanks to Mike Nellis for his great commentary, and thanks to our good friend Sarah Jones for her work with The Daily and Politicus USA. Be safe out there this week, guys. Take a deep breath. Make your life count. We'll be back tomorrow.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a